Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Drop-In Morning Show with the Teach Better team, where we are live every single morning, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. Shout out especially to those listening on Teach Better Talk podcast. Even though you're not listening live with us, we really appreciate you tuning in and rating and reviewing the show. We are getting started here. It is Thursday, April 14th, and we have a whole lot to dive into with two new wonderful faces of our Teach Better community. Of course, it's Thursday, so we also will end our show with good news articles and some good wacky holidays. So it's time to go fill up your coffee, and we'll be right back. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Drop-In Morning Show. We have PJ and Jamie with us. How are you guys feeling this morning, bright and early?
We're doing great. We're happy to be here. Thanks for having us today, Ray.
Yeah. It's so fun. I really appreciate it. I know that I think you guys are in Central Time Zone with me, aren't you?
We are.
We are. Yep. So it's nice, bright and early.
Bright and early. That's actually like it's a pet peeve I have in the morning where I get to say, "Oh, good morning, everyone, 7 a.m. Eastern." And in my mind, I'm like, but 6 a.m. my time.
That's really true. Yeah. This is our first day of spring break, so this is a great way to get it kicked off and rolling.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And you get to start off by waking up really early. That's a great way to start off your spring break. Who needs sleep anyway, right?
That's right. We have plenty of coffee though.
Yes,
so.
yeah, we do.
Great call. Yes, a coffee is definitely a requirement this early in the morning. I really appreciate you guys doing this on your spring break, and I'm so excited to introduce you to our Teach Better community because you guys, we've been connected for just a few months, just a few weeks, and I've been such a fan of the work that you're doing. So would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself, what you do in education, kind of all those good things?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, we're both teachers. We've been teaching for 16 years. I teach middle school social studies, and PJ does middle school social studies and science. And about 10 years ago, we started a business where we make educational materials for the classroom, mostly posters, like you can kind of see one behind us there. And our periodic table of the presidents is kind of how we got started. And then from there, we've just kind of really organically grown into a business we're really proud of. And about 3 years ago, started pretty intensely writing this book, We the People and the President. And that came out in December. And so we've just been in this kind of fun ride since then, just continuing to build this, kind of community of social studies teachers around us. And it's been a whole lot of fun.
I didn't realize it until this morning, but it seems like every guest on the show this week is an educator that also has this great side business that's trying to do something wonderful for education. I love that you guys are finding a way, and I really truly mean that, finding a way to balance being full-time educators, obviously facilitating a wonderful family and lifestyle together, and then also trying to put out goodness into the field in hopes to better this incredible education space that we work in. So power to you. That is a feat for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been such a demanding job, I think, especially these past couple of years. And even before that, it takes 100% of your effort to be present and to be, you're responsible for kids' education, which is huge responsibility that I'm sure we all could go on forever about. But then you come home and you try to manage a side business and you spend your weekends doing that. And fortunately enough that we're fortunate enough, I guess, to say that during the summers we can travel with our kids and go to all these cool history sites, and that's all part of this whole, side business as well, which does help. And we always said, we love that we can do things that we love outside of the classroom and then bring them into the classroom. So it's been a nice journey of, exploring on our own terms, learning with our family, creating some cool art and some cool informational graphics, and then, mixing all those worlds together. And so I think that's been really nice to do, and I think it's mutually beneficial. Everything I think gets better when you love what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think that's the common thread. If you love what you're doing, it can enrich different aspects of your life.
I really would love to dive into how you are both balancing your two passions. I think that's such an interesting topic, something I know that's so relevant to not only Teach Better community, but even our internal team on the Teach Better team. We have plenty of educators that also are playing this dual role of supporting this incredible Teach Better family, but then also being in the classroom day in, day out. I do want to take a moment and say, though, you guys sent me a book a few weeks ago. I've showed it on the show at least 3 times because it just like comes up in conversation. And this is the book that we're talking about. So if all of you friends that are listening live here on the Daily Drop-In, if you've paid attention before, I've been showing you this book cover. I have been nothing but absolutely impressed by what's in here. I want to encourage everybody to go check out this beautiful book. And I say beautiful book because not only is the content superb for the classroom, but it is so eye-catching and so easy to understand. Truly, I am so impressed with your work, Jamie and PJ. Honestly, I just have to tell you, like, I've been bragging about you guys for weeks.
Well, thank you. Like we really appreciate that, and it's I kind of hesitate to use that word passion because I think it's kind of it's almost overused right now. But this really truly is it's what we do. Like we do history. We do this, for our lives, and we love to do it. And we're really proud of this product that we created. So we really appreciate you saying that. That's really awesome to hear.
Yeah, no, there's a ton to be proud of with this. And I'm a very visual learner. I have always leaned on visual infographics and everything else to consume content. So I don't know if that's why I love this book so much, or I'm sure there's 1,000 different factors, but this is my kind of education. I've given a few suggestions to our community already on how to use this. But before we get into kind of all of you, your background and all the tips and tricks I know you'll have for the show, can you tell us a little bit, if we have somebody go and pick up this book and bring it into their classroom, do you guys have a vision of how this can be utilized?
That's a good question. I think we're currently exploring that and seeing how teachers and students and readers in general use it. I know that for our periodic table of the presidents, where this whole thing began, we've had so much feedback over the years, and we hear from students, and we get emails, and we hear people at conferences tell us that how they use the periodic table of the presidents. So we'd love to hear how people are using it in their classroom. We don't have any, designed curriculum around it or anything. But we're exploring that for sure. That's currently in the making. Currently in the exploration.
It's currently on the list.
Phase. It's on the list. It's on the list. Yeah, and I think that would be a cool thing, because we want to take, like you said, the visual learning, but also there's content in there, and from that content, I think you can branch out to a lot of different concepts.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, as a educator myself, I know in my math classrooms or writing classrooms, these were the kind of books that I loved having easily accessible for students, where they could grab them, explore. Great opportunity for brain break, great opportunity to use it to influence content or student exploration. I'm a huge fan. I feel like this is one of those books that every educator could have in their classroom, regardless of what they teach, regardless of the grade level, because there's so many ways and pieces of information to consume, that whether it be a part of the lesson or just a moment in time where students are exploring on their own or reading, I think they can utilize it. So very, very cool. I cannot say enough about how impressed I am with this product. So truly, friends, I don't mean to dwell on this. I really love the design of it. Very well done.
You can dwell on that as long as you want, Ray. Okay, we're good with that.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I'm just saying, like, people send me a lot of books. I love when people share their passions with me, but this one I opened up and I was like, oh, this is my style. I love it. So.
You know what? You said something that we always talk about with being a visual learner and how important that is, and not getting visually overwhelmed. I think we see some infographics, or we're inundated with a lot of information on social media, and we just kind of scroll through them. We don't really take them in maybe and analyze them. So that was a huge part of designing that, was presenting the information in such a way that could be digested, but also offered the reader space to make sense of it all, and make connections. So we're really glad to hear that. I'm sure.
Yeah, I was just going to say I think you've made a great point. This idea of, we're so used to seeing graphics everywhere, but in this book format, it gives the reader a chance to kind of like really get in it and, crawl through the graphic a little bit and take your time with it. And there's a lot of value, especially for young kids who are a little bit terrified by this enormous idea of history. I mean, when you tell a 10-year-old that you're looking at 1,000 years worth of history, that's big. That's a big thing. So that's just kind of giving them a space to understand it is kind of what we were shooting for there.
Well, and not only that, I love this focus, but doing that for one visual is so important. There's like a million in this book. I mean, that whole process that you guys are discussing of wanting it to be easily consumable, not overwhelming, you literally must have had to do that for every single page, because there is not a moment of white space that is not unused in this book. So.
Yeah, that was okay. So we had the original intent of the book was about half the length of the book that it currently. It's double what it was supposed to originally be, and our editor and our team came to us and said, "Hey, can we do some more? We like these. Keep them coming." And Jamie and I would look at each other, and after the conversation, we're like, "Okay,
here we go.
Here we go."
Let's do it again.
So gerrymandering. What do you have? So you take, we tried to take a concept like gerrymandering or the census. How do you put the U.S. Census into something somewhat engaging?
Yes.
So that was a challenge and a lot of rework, and just starting from scratch and building from there, and using experience in the classroom was something, after it was all said and done, that really every teacher does every day. Is you start almost with this blank slate, and you have this concept, let's say, or a standard or whatever it is, and how are you going to deliver that content, or even if it's what activities are the students going to do, you're starting with a blank slate. And I think when somebody has that job of educating some students, they are doing that every day, and we're doing that in the classroom every day. I feel.
Yeah.
I think that experience lends itself to a lot of things in life.
I couldn't agree more. If our community wants to explore the book, pick up a copy, where can they grab their copy?
You can get it. You can order it anywhere that books are sold. We have on our website a link to our local independent bookseller who we've been working with. And thanks. Yeah, there it is. And Amazon. I mean, Amazon's super easy. We all have Amazon accounts. So, but if you want a signed copy, in particular, our Left Bank Books in the Central West End in St. Louis. That's who we're working with. So,
I love it. So powerful. And again, I know that I said this to you before we came live, and I know we've been talking shop a little bit this morning already, but I am demanding more content from you guys because I love your style so much. So I so appreciate that you are educating the youth of America and making a massive impact on students. But if you could find like a few more hours in the day to work on the next
That is kind of our
That's
eternal problem right now.
That is.
Okay, we just need a couple hours here to do this. And
Have you considered like not sleeping, just working all night, like filling the weekends? Like, where are you at with this? Can I convince you a little bit? I'm just saying.
Yeah, summer break is a nice break for teaching. We all enjoy that, but we tend to fill that with space, or fill that space up like many teachers do. Like we were saying earlier, it's interesting to see what fellow educators do outside of the classroom as well. That's a story right there, I think.
So much.
Is what educators do to honestly, sometimes we just can't stop. We want to keep on going. We want to keep on creating things, let's say, or making things, or whatever it is, learning things, traveling places to bring into the classroom. So yeah, we just need some more hours. That's basically
that's it.
We will figure out how to get more hours in the day. I know many people have requested that, but now this is something that I'm benefiting from. So I'm going to figure out how to create that for you. And I really appreciate you choosing a topic that I have struggled to learn. I mean, history is really challenging. It's always been challenging for me to conceptualize. I've never taught it. It would be the most scary subject for me to teach. I think all of us have our strengths. So getting this resource, I mean, I've learned an enormous amount as a consumer myself, much less being able to bring this to students. So, all right, I'm done talking about how fabulous you are. I'm so sorry to embarrass you for 15 minutes, but this has been so fun.
Oh, well, thank you.
So on the show in the morning, we also love to document a moment of gratitude. We use an app called Happy Feed. It's a free app that was recommended by a guest on the show about 6 weeks ago. And not only do we document a moment of gratitude every single morning here on the Daily Drop-In Morning Show, but we also are able to then revisit these moments of gratitude as frequently as we want, just to kind of have those fun reminders of guests on the show or funny moments. So I want to throw it at you guys this morning. If you were thinking through on Thursday, April 14th, what you're grateful for, what would be your submission this morning?
There's so much. There's so much. I think that I'm in a space right now, and do you mind if I just take this?
No, go ahead.
Where we feel incredibly fortunate to have a platform to reach so many kids, and we are, like, at our core educators. Like, we believe so strongly in the power of an education. So to be able to have this potential to reach so many kids is something that we are eternally grateful for.
So good. I love that. I think educators, at least especially in the Teach Better community, are so committed to growing their professional learning network that then sometimes we forget that not only are we connecting with fellow educators, but then anything we do in collaboration then affects those students in those classrooms as well. That's a very powerful avenue that you guys have built very, very successfully and will continue to build, is the opportunity to truly impact so many classrooms. Very powerful.
Yeah, I would echo what Jamie says. Honestly, this sounds like a maybe too general of something to be grateful for, but I'm grateful for educators being out there, educators of all kinds. I think a lot of people don't realize you could be a professional educator, you could be a teacher, a professor, but education in general, I think, is something that we really want to, that we're grateful for in life. To have, when we go to a museum, for example, park rangers at national park sites, docents at museums, people who are volunteering their time to carry this thing of education along. I think sometimes we forget that ourselves, that we're part of this I don't know if it's club or whatever it is, but you're part of this group of people that are actually moving this education thing forward. And boy, has it been challenging the past couple of years in all of these realms, from museums to schools to whatever it is where people go to learn something. Yeah, I'm grateful for that. And I'm glad to think about that. I wouldn't have thought about that
I know,
today
that's
until
nice.
until
Yeah.
we had this moment. So that, sorry if I'm rambling on about that, but it really does mean a lot to us.
I couldn't agree more. And I love the reminder that education occurs outside the walls of our school buildings. You know, teachers have incredible opportunities to facilitate learning in school. And, you know, sometimes we don't take those moments to also be appreciative of the other avenues where our communities are supporting students being learners, like museums and everything else that you mentioned. So, such a good moment this morning. Friends, we are going to be right back with our Brainstorm Bank segment. Good morning, everyone. We are continuing our conversation on April 14th with Jamie and PJ as we dive into our Brainstorm Bank segment. This segment, for many of you who are familiar with the show, is an opportunity not only for our community to ask questions live in the comments. We're happy to brainstorm with you or answer any questions that you are thinking through. PJ, Jamie, and I don't promise to have the most perfect, best answer for you all the time, but we sure want to be a part of your process in brainstorming through any dilemma of practice that you are currently thinking through in your classroom. So please feel free to utilize the chat for that. In addition, this is also a time where we bring up our theme for the week and get to dive into what the two of you are also most passionate about. So I'm going to start out with our theme, if you don't mind. Our theme this week is all about leadership practices. And as educators in the classroom, I can only assume you're very active in your community. You're also running a business to support education as an avenue that you're doing that outside of the classroom, which is so challenging. So when I say the word leadership practices or that term, what does that mean to you?
I think that can be anything. And I think one thing that we've sort of having this avenue to talk about the book and talk about civics and talk about government is this idea that when you participate in your government and you participate in your community, that is leadership. And if you're, whether you're a 10-year-old kid or whether you're the mayor of your city or the principal of your school, or like, you can lead in your community, and it can be in really small ways. It doesn't have to be like these major, let's start a countywide recycling program. It can be like, going to vote, or like these really simple things that we kind of forget about in terms of being a community leader. It doesn't have to be enormous. It can be little small acts as well.
What
For sure.
qualities do you think are necessary for leaders? Because you're right. If we were able to lead in so many different avenues, whether it be in our school building or in our communities, what characteristics do you think are most valuable?
One word that comes to mind for me is tenacity. You know, being being able to find something that you are passionate enough about and then following through. I think that for me leads me to do things. Someone, the best leaders inspire people to want to do things, I think. And what better way than somebody who has the tenacity and maybe even the ability to have integrity with what they do. Maybe that's another key word, integrity. This idea that when who you are and what you do when nobody's looking. I know I always say that to a lot of students, and I know we try to model that. So hard work, I think, is something that often goes overlooked. I think showing up places, doing a good job, caring about people, and then putting in the work inspires, I think, those who are also willing to do that, because after all, I think leadership is about inspiring other leaders, maybe to a degree.
Oh, I think that's so powerful. Leadership is about inspiring other leaders. Very, very important to think through. If I'm listening to the show, Daily Drop-In is something that I know many educators listen to on their drive to work, or maybe they have it propped up as they're getting ready during their day, moving and picking out clothes and getting kids ready for school. If we wanted to challenge our community here to be better leaders as they entered into their Thursday, any specific challenges or strategies we can kind of throw out to our community to see if they can put that as a little focus and little lens that they can look through in their day today?
Yeah, I would, let's say, boy, I would say that thinking about small acts, I think I would echo what Jamie said. That helps me. Small acts of inspiring others to lead, even if it's a sidebar conversation with someone, I think that can inspire or get somebody thinking.
Mm.
I know that one strategy I use in the classroom, if I want to inspire a student to be some type of leader, is just have a sidebar conversation and say, hey, I see great things, in your future or what you're doing right now. Keep it up. Just these small sidebar conversations, I think, have a lot more power than we realize. And I think after teaching for 16 years now, you see that, and you see how kids can be inspired just by a small 3-minute conversation rather than talking to a whole group. I think that's our tendency, at least for me, is to speak to 30 students at one time, let's say, right? And try to get everybody on the same page. That works, I think, to a degree. But pulling aside a couple students maybe and really trying to focus some energy on their leadership abilities has been pretty successful.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And we kind of do that the same thing with our own 3 kids, when they're having, any kind of
Right.
struggle, or when they're, feeling, sort of however teenagers feel, right? Just to say, hey, today you should talk to somebody new, like meet somebody new, tell them something that you love about yourself and ask them something that they love about themselves. And I think that's a really good point. Just having these like smaller conversations instead of feeling like you have to do some big enormous thing. A lot of times it's those little tiny moments that are the
Right.
most valuable.
And I'm just thinking of another thing that I'm thinking, and I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I think the past couple years have shifted my focus away from these interactions, specifically because we were in the classroom. We're so, I don't know what other people experience, but we're so focused on, social distancing and these protocols here and there that you forget those other things. And a couple of years in a row, I made it a point to almost have one of those moments every day, where when I noticed something positive a student was doing, instead of just saying, okay, good work, here you go, make it a little more than that. Spend a minute or two, and I know that sounds maybe overly simplified, but if I found that if I did that every day with at least one student with one positive thing, that really adds up over the course of a couple months, over the course of a year. It adds up, and I think it moves kids in the right direction of positivity, rather than negativity.
Well, and empowerment. I mean, I know so many educators in our community utilize the grid method, which is a mastery framework that many educators in our community utilize to implement a mastery classroom that supports that personalized learning avenue. And one of the best feedback points we get is it's the opportunity to have more one-on-one and small group dialogue with students versus always feeling like you're talking to the masses. This important reminder this morning about how valuable those one-on-one or small group discussions can be to really empower the students that are in front of you, celebrate the students that are in front of you, and kind of have that relationship building moment to continue to develop that students learning, not only in the content that you're teaching, but also in their development as a good human being in our communities. I think is so valuable. And I know so many of us have been impacted by educators in our lives. Most of those moments are via those small, intimate conversations that really hit home in some way. So I love that reminder this morning.
Awesome. Yeah, that's couldn't agree more. Those are the experiences I think that make education what it is, because I think, like you said, every current teacher has had at least one teacher in the past that's been an inspiration, and I think that continues to move on.
So powerful this morning. I love that. If any of you choose to take on this challenge this morning, we would love for you to share your experience with us. Let us know you're taking on this challenge. You can share with that on social media. Maybe you could tag us. I know Jamie and PJ, you guys are very active on a number of different social media platforms, so they can find you there and continue to kind of celebrate taking on this little challenge of having that intimate one-on-one or small group empowerment conversation to ensure that we have as many leaders in our classrooms as possible. I know I'm going to have you guys share how people can stay connected with you at the end of the show, but right this moment, if we're thinking through connecting with you on Instagram or Twitter, or anywhere on social media, what handle can they find you under?
We are at Periodic Pres, and our website is periodicpresidents.com. So you can contact us through our website as well.
Perfect. Great way to go find you. So valuable. I know you all have so much to be able to share. Before we kind of wrap up this segment and get into our good news, I'd love to hear any strategies you might have to share with our community on finding this balance. So many educators are overwhelmed and inundated with responsibilities in their current roles, and trying to find a way to balance a family and a full-time job and now a side hustle, and really trying to impact education. I know there's probably not one answer that is going to cure all educators, but as you continue to reflect on the practices you use to find a balance between producing great material for educators to utilize and be in the classroom full-time, any strategies on how to organize your time to make it most effective?
I think for us, and I think PJ and I have kind of different ways of approaching this, but for me personally, it's having time to myself to be able to like do those things that I feel really passionate about. And a lot of times it's like as simple as going to a park and taking a walk, but just making that time to say, okay, I'm overwhelmed. We need to, escape for a minute. We need to go to, we live really close to Cahokia Mountains, and it's like one of our all-time favorite places to go and just walk around and just be outside and get fresh air. And on my plan hour, I do yoga. Like it's just a moment for me to stop everything and kind of be inside myself for a second, because I think so much of our time is devoted to everybody else. And I think as educators, I don't think I'm saying anything that everybody is not feeling, especially right now, which is some days you get home and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure that I have anything else to give today. I think I've given it to everybody. So just taking that moment for me is really important. And reading a book, like getting engrossed in something that I am passionate about, sort of fuels me that next day as well.
Yeah, I would say a similar thing. That one thing that helps me is to realize that this may be helpful to some or not at all. It may be the opposite, actually. But I think it's helpful, and to realize we're going to be doing this education thing. Let's say you get overwhelmed at school, and the list just gets longer and longer, and you're writing your Post-it notes, and you have all these things all over your desk. And I sit there and I think, wow, I have to do all these things, and I enjoy completing these things, and like we all do. And you can't wait to cross the last thing off the list and throw that Post-it note away in the trash or, recycling. And, but realizing that, what, the Post-it notes are going to keep on coming. They're going to continue. And as an educator, I'm going to continue to try to squeeze as many things as I can into this day until the last day of school. And then that last day of school, I think for the year, is that moment where you're like, all right, we did it. There's that last thing on the list. And then you start thinking about the next year, and I think acknowledging that moment of, hey, wait a minute, let's enjoy this thing, because we're always going to have those notes. And if I if I didn't have those notes, I wouldn't be doing a good job in my own mind.
Mhm.
Those notes are reminders, and those tasks are reminders, and those phone calls or emails or whatever it is we have to do are reminders to yourself that you're doing a good job. And just taking that moment and realizing that that process means you care, means you're passionate, means that you are accomplishing real things. Uh, that it was kind of an eye-opening moment for me, and it helps me out just in the midst of all of these things and all this, this work and this stress and whatever it is that adds up. Just looking around and saying, this is evidence that you're doing things. This is evidence that you are making an impact. Even if it's writing a positive email, a small act, or even if it's accomplishing and planning an entire new unit in your study, or even if it's us, maybe creating a new poster, you're making an impact, and have that moment. And I think that helps me out.
Yeah, we do talk about that a lot. Like,
Yeah.
now that you're saying that, that's a really good point. Whenever we start to feel overwhelmed, we have each other to sort of say, okay, we need to enjoy this process. Let's enjoy the process. It's not just the product. Let's enjoy the process. That's the whole point of this.
Well, I think it's something that we frequently forget, that actually by having a long to-do list, it means that we are reflective. It means that we must care a lot about the work we're doing. It means that we are, wanting to make an impact on others. It means that we're giving to others. I mean, there's so much to celebrate in that experience. And I never look at it that way. That is such a wonderful lens and perspective as we get into our day and look at our massive to-do list that all of us have, right? It's like that scroll that never ends ever. I love this opportunity to say, yeah, my to-do list is incredibly long. I may not even finish it today. If you can imagine leaving school without the to-do list done. So being able to look at that list of responsibilities and celebrating the fact that it actually means that we are doing fabulous things. I really appreciate that perspective this morning.
Hey, no problem. I was thinking about it, Ray, probably a couple years ago. What if I had all of those Post-it notes from all of those tasks just stacked up next to my desk? Wouldn't that be an interesting thing to look through over the years? A reminder of this and that. And so I think, like you said, it's a way to reflect. Maybe that's it. It's doing that as a practice of reflection.
Yeah. It's great reflection. I will say I buy a like planner every year. I know so many of us do that, especially in education. And every year it's like one planner's retired and you get the new one and it's fresh and beautiful and clean. And it is interesting, rather than looking at that as past years as a reference for, oh my gosh, what did I do for this lesson? Or how did we celebrate that day last year, which is always so helpful to be able to refer back. But to look at it holistically and say, wow, look at the thinking that occurred last year. Look at the, whether everything got crossed off or things got forgotten, look at the brainstorming that occurred throughout the year. That's a big celebration. I hope that many educators choose to take that as a celebration this morning. I think that really helps us, especially on a Thursday, as we're pursuing more throughout the week and almost to the weekend, being able to look and say, yeah, it might be, tough to not hit the snooze button this morning, but how can we actually see all this work as a celebration, not only as an end product, but the journey? Perfect reminder for a Thursday morning. As we kind of wrap up our conversation here, I do want to make sure that we get into our good news for the day and some holidays, as well as how to stay connected to you both. So we'll be right back. Good morning, friends. We are in our last segment of the day as we celebrate some good news and some holidays for the day. Jamie and PJ, are you always up for a celebration? Because we love to celebrate some wacky holidays here on the show.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Wonderful. There are definitely some weird ones today, which, I mean, hey, why not? It is International Moment of Laughter Day. So incorporating some laughter into our day is absolutely something that we can achieve. It's National Dolphin Day. Have you ever seen a dolphin in real life? That can be fun.
Yeah,
That's fun.
yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
I immediately think of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh,
Ooh.
yeah.
Yeah,
So long and thanks for the fish.
yeah. So long and thanks for the fish. Yeah, yeah.
That's great.
I love it. It's National Gardening Day. So getting out, hopefully all of us can experience good weather today, no matter where you are in the world, and maybe do some gardening. Is that a hobby for you guys at all, maybe?
It is. That's actually how we spent last weekend. It was
Right.
beautiful and we spent it outside gardening. That's exactly what we did.
I love it. Well, here, add this one to your list because it is also National Look Up at the Sky Day. So as you're gardening, you
Okay.
may play looking up.
Look,
Two,
right,
two birds, one stone.
right.
Perfect.
We could do that easily.
I like that. Last but not least, this is one that I'm always up to celebrate, but I don't know if I'm going to go sweet or salty. It's National Pecan Day or Pecan Day, depending on what we're going to get into here. So if you were to grab a pecan or a pecan, which we've had this debate on the show before, would you go like a sweet avenue or a salty avenue?
Oh, I would definitely go the sweet avenue.
Oh.
Yeah,
The-
I would
yeah.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would.
I'm thinking of Buc-ee's and
Right.
Austin.
Yeah, isn't there a Texas style?
Mhm.
I think it's a Texas style pecan, which is encrusted with this cinnamon and sugar
It's perfect.
and salt.
Yeah.
You know, hard.
Yeah. Well, now you're going both. If you're doing cinnamon and salt, I mean, technically, it's perfect. You're really hitting down the middle. I love it. So powerful. Also, as a good news article this morning, this is something that we can use to foster discussion with our students as they walk in to start the day, or also as a way to build relationships with our colleagues. Just an interesting headline we're going to throw out there, and then you can learn more over at thegoodnewsnetwork.org. It says the U.S. House passes a bill to cap insulin costs at $35 per month. So this is actually a follow-up to a story that we did just a few months ago that we knew this was underway, trying to find affordable healthcare for so many people that are utilizing insulin. This is a big celebration, and the House of Representatives actually just passed this bill. It's called Build Back Better Act. And so definitely an opportunity for those who are utilizing insulin as a life-saving balance of their body to hopefully have some more affordable access. So thoughts, PJ or Jamie, on how to incorporate this type of article either in building relationships with our colleagues or bringing it to our students to kind of foster some thinking?
Yeah, I mean, as a social studies teacher, and with a brother who is a diabetic, that kind of hits me on both levels. But in particular, I think that's an easy conversation of how does a bill become a law, and what is the House of Representatives and the Senate, and how many people have to pass on both sides, and then after it does pass, what happens to it. So that's a easy transition to a constitutional connection there, I would say. But again, as a social studies teacher, that's just sort of what I do.
I love that. That's exactly what we're looking for on a personal level as well. I mean, just being able to bring that to say, hey, I saw something that was really interesting in the news. It personally affects me because I have a brother that has experienced a benefit of this. What are your thoughts to that? What bills could be passed that might impact your families? This could be a great discussion.
Yeah, and then let's find our representatives and let's send them letters. We can send them emails today on how we feel about this. Do we think this is a good idea? Do we think this is a bad idea? And what else would we maybe want to see included in that? If insulin's $35, can we look at a prescription that's important to somebody in your family? Make it a little more personal for the kids as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I love this reminder too. Sometimes I think we learn something in schools, but we don't necessarily, again, take it outside of the walls of our classroom. The concept of emailing a representative and getting involved in our system is so valuable. But what you said specifically is not only with another suggestion, maybe something we want to see changed, but also in celebrating maybe something that they were a part of ensuring went forward, right? I know so many people are always eager to communicate when they're upset about something, but how wonderful would it be if our students were able to also communicate when it was something of celebration, to send an email to a representative and say, hey, I love that this was passed. I just wanted to say thank you, right? What a wonderful, great way to kind of share our appreciation for something.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good example of the government working in a positive way, hopefully, for people. And that can't but help. Here's the other thing I think you could talk if you're an older, middle school, high school level, is okay. Well, why is that even a thing? Why does a bill have to be passed for this in the first place? And that opens a whole other discussion about, you could talk about healthcare in general, and how does the government and healthcare, how do those two worlds interact in the United States and even beyond in other countries? I think you could really take it in a bunch of different ways. And younger grades, I immediately thought of Schoolhouse Rock. I'm just a Bill. I mean, what if you
why younger grades? My
I know.
Love
that.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have an excuse to show that. My problem always is, over showing things like that, like I'm just a Bill and playing the song. I just love that stuff, Schoolhouse Rock.
Well, we all remember it, so it must be worthwhile, let me tell you. But no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, we've given so many wonderful social studies examples. There's so many science examples to dive in with the use of insulin. Looking at cost and in a mathematics class can be valuable. So many wonderful, I love the letter writing as a language arts or reading activity. So many ways to incorporate this in. So PJ, Jamie, I appreciate that brainstorm. It's always fun to be able to see how we can be more intentional with the relevant news going on in our communities and bringing that into our classrooms to continue to foster those relationships. So really appreciate it. Before we end the show today, I really want to ensure that our community here not only can connect with you on social media, which I know we mentioned before, but also grab a copy of the book. I've never felt as passionately as I do this morning of wanting to ensure that this resource is in as many classrooms as humanly possible. So I'm going to keep pushing it as we kind of wrap up our show. How can people stay connected? Would you mind sharing your website and social media handles?
Yeah, our website is periodicpresidents.com, and you can access everything from our website. And we're on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. We're sort of just now building a presence in a couple of those platforms, but we're at Periodic Prez. It's PREZ, and we. Like I said, we're pretty active there. So
yeah, and
we'd love for you to contact us.
We love to hear from you as well. We love to hear how students respond to the periodic table of the presidents, amendments, Constitution, elections, or we'd love to hear about, how students are responding to the book. It just came out in December. So we'd love to hear, any kind of feedback. We love to hear from everyone.
Yeah, and
well, I think
Skype. I'm sorry, I just cut you off, but we're kind of starting to zoom into classrooms as well. So if you want to contact us and have us zoom into your classroom for a little bit, we're happy to do that as well.
I love that idea. I think we need some photos of some smiling faces holding this book. I think that this is going to be a good opportunity on social media to see some happiness and thinking flowing. I love it. Well, guys, thank you so much for waking up bright and early. For our community here for Teach Better, thank you so much for being a part of this incredible family where we can have these wonderful discussions. It is Thursday, April 14th, so please do not forget there are so many ways to engage and learn with this family. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And of course, if you are interested in presenting at the Teach Better conference this October, applications are open for another week or so, or another 2 weeks or so till the end of the month. So please feel free to submit your application so that you can also become a presenter at the Teach Better conference. PJ, Jamie, great to see you guys. We're going to stay right here, but for everybody else, we will see you later. Thanks, friends.
Bye.
Bye.